Yeah, I don't know if this is something that you use in the US. Like, you know, like in Spain, we say short 10 minutes or 10 minutes long,
Hi,
which more or less.
Welcome. Welcome to Artist Talk on Art. I just started recording, but yes, we're going to have a special sort of short, long 10-minute presentations tonight. This is ATOA's 48th Monday virtual open studio talk. This has been our response to COVID. In general, ATOA is a 501c3 nonprofit, been around since 1975. Physical presentations, dialogues in the Lower West Side of New York City, most recently at 12 West 12th Street. Now, this is how we present, and part of the advantages is we can reach across the country and across the globe. For tonight's unique performance, presentation, we have new Latinx Art Collective that Verónica Peña has organized. This is going to be a two-part presentation. We're going to do about 6 artists tonight, same amount next week. And these are going to be short presentations, and of course, leaving time for questions, because the questions we get often invoke very good dialogue with the artists and sort of bring out and enrich what they're looking to express. So what I'll do is I'm going to hand it over to Verónica, who is also the performance coordinator for the ATOA for our first of the month talks that we have. See our calendar, atoanyc.org is our website, and our calendar lists the talks that are coming, and as well, anything else you'd like to know about the organization is there. Verónica, I'll hand it off to you. Thank you for putting this together, and of course, being the coordinator for performance art. Tell us a little bit about the new Latinx Art Collective.
Yes, so I'm just going to share our statement for the collective. I am also a member of the group, and we draft this statement together. We are 70 members, so you know, doing things together takes some time, and it's something that we take time to address, and I want to share it. So the new Latinx Art Collective was founded in 2020 by participants of the Creative Capital Taller NYC for Latinx artists. Multidisciplinary, intercultural, and politically inclined, the new Latinx Art Collective includes 70 members and aims to create an open space for the community to come together, voice ideas, gain visibility, and explore the intersectionalities of Latinx identities in the US. So today we have 6 members of the group, and I'm just going to go ahead and let them express themselves. Is there somebody that wants to go first? No? Should I point then? Okay, since the first one that I saw here, and forgive me if I am mistaken, was Bibi Flores. We are going to start with you, Bibi. Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Yeah? Okay. Okay. So all is yours. And I'm going to, you know, we are going to do presentations of more or less 5 minutes, but it's not so strict as we did it before at Creative Capital. Okay, so Bibi, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you for having me here, and of course with these amazing artists from the Latinx Collective that I'm part of. And I'm Bibi Flores. I'm a painter, but also a multidisciplinary artist. Mainly, my main medium is painting, but I use it within the other medium that I use. All my work is abstract, as you can see. Behind me, there's a small detail of a painting in my studio. And everything that I do is mainly abstractions that inhabit the form of energy. The energy is healing, and it's mainly focused on trauma and abuse, and also healing, of course, and empowerment. And yeah, and it's just from patriarchy systems mainly, or oppressive systems that we have living within a long time, right? So for me, how I got to understand energy is my father was an artist that worked in metaphysics, divine energy, and the cosmos. So I actually got to understand energy. I also have some gifts that I born with that I also use as intuition, visions, and that help me guide through this energy. And I use it also. But of course, having that school of my father helped me to understand a little bit the visuals, and also later on develop my own with my own intuition and visions that I have. I'm actually a survivor. I experienced different things in my life, like things that they're rape, like in the masters when I was in SBA, at the middle of the masters, I was raped, and this is not the first time that this happened to me. So, but I was kind of silent because of these systems that we grew up in, or they were built to oppress and not talk about these things. Of course, right now there's a little more advanced, everybody's talking about it. But when I started the project, there was not too much about this. I started this project, the last project that I'm talking about is from 2010 to now, which is a recent project that is more focused on empowerment and healing, mainly for these patriarchy systems and all the oppression that we have and we live in, and putting, it's a self-research, but also researching a lot of things related with energy and empowerment, and also guided by my intuition and my own gifts to develop all the project within all these years that they're right now. I have 24 years as an artist, but these 11 years is been for that last project. Now, this last project has a title that I choose in 2010, which I choose with different, there's these words that they have behind this intention that is energetically for healing. So I choose the goodbye to assholes. I deserve much better. I know it's a little controversial because of the one of the words, but it's a very important phrase that sparks or starts this healing through all the process of different stages that I'm being researching myself, and also with the different areas through my art, and also through, based on all the healing and empowerment. So it's these 11 years, and it's still like in the last phases of the project. And for me as an artist, being able to put these two gifts myself, my, the gift of my intuition and my experiences that I have as a survivor with art is very important, because it's not only putting my passion as, I love art. So I really putting together that with my experience, and also with my gifts. I think that is a very important message. And as an artist, I like to plant a seed through this message and through art, that I can, as other artists, help to make other people think different, and change the world for a better world, and create a better one without these other systems that usually cause a lot of trauma and pain, especially for women. But there's feminine and masculine energies that they need to be balanced. So mainly, my work is related to all those things, and yeah, and it's there's more deep into the subject of my work.
Bibi, can I ask? Bibi, can you share some images, some of the works? Do you know how to do screen sharing?
Oh, I didn't prepared for that because it was just for 5 minutes. But I have this here, one painting right here that is actually in my studio that is mainly bring your own power. So I put the energy because when you actually do some meditations and when you feel the power usually in your center, in the core. So I usually is where I get my energy. And that painting is very important because it's when, you know, it's to a whole project, but it's one that it means to bring your own power that it was hidden because of all the years that it was kind of repressed. So it's just different stages. So that's one. I don't have the screen because I decided just to put this painting here. But let me grab one. I'm here in my studio, so why not? So I'm actually showing soon, like for example, this one is another one, it's a small, so maybe you can see it in the screen. So this one is a small one, which is like, it has, this one is a small one and is related with boundaries, setting boundaries. So there are different colors that I use and some symbols that they actually mean something and connect with the other painting that has relationship in between each other and talk in between, like in this language of energy and also through these stages. Of course, they're abstractions and they inhabit the form of energy. So, but if you see and you start to see, maybe you can understand a little bit the message or how I put it together in this language.
Let me open it up to some questions, Bibi.
Yes, of course, yes.
If anybody would like, just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question as well. You can use the chat feature to type a comment in. Bibi, what were some of your earlier works that you did, whether it was when you were a child or a student? When did you first dip into the art world and into making artwork?
So my father was an artist. So I actually born in Austin when he was doing his master in fine arts. So since I was little, I was, part of what I always talk about is he used to have the studio always at home, or there was an area like almost like another apartment beside the home where we live that it was a studio. So I will always go and play with paintings. So it was like part of my toys. So like it was something that I really enjoyed since I was little. So I started experiment since I was a baby mainly. And later on, of course, I took a few classes here and there. And later on, I always say that around 97 is when I started professionally, like start to exhibit more, even that I had a few exhibitions where I will collaborate with my father in a few, pieces that he did in other exhibitions in the 80s or things like that, where I collaborate with him in some paintings, but when I was little. And so, and and I was in Monterrey, Mexico for a while, and then I moved to New York, and I studied there art also as well, and I moved here to New York in 2005 and studied in different places like National Academy, then Parsons, and I did my Masters of Fine Art in the School of Visual Arts.
Very nice. Thanks, Bibi. I think just in the interest of time, we'll move forward. Veronica.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bibi. And, thank you for sharing that type of aggressions that we can do to each other. I don't know how you do it. And I really, your work has to be healing. I'm going to, thank you. I'm going to welcome Arantxa Araujo. She's a performance artist, multimedia artist, interdisciplinary, and I'm just going to let her go.
Fantastic. Thank you for that intro, Vero.
Thank you, Arantxa.
Great. So I'm going to share my screen and get started in just a second. Great. Excellent. Hold on a second. So I'm gonna get started with a small video for you to see, and then I'll be talking a little bit about the work. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Arantxa Araujo. My work is about enlightenment. You might be wondering, what is enlightenment? So be it by burning my head, similar to how the apostles did with Pentecost, or having light inside my body, I explore enlightenment. Through scientific and philosophical research, I construct multidisciplinary projects that expand our awareness about the physical, the affective, the cognitive, and the spiritual. These embodied experiments aim to heal trauma, learn how to listen and recognize, and access heightened states of awareness. As I was saying, another way of exploring enlightenment can be seen as a choice to present women as sources of light, doing this by holding energy within my body. In other words, light, electricity inside my vagina, just as women do when they're holding life within us, observing the beauty and the vulnerabilities and dangers that exist within these capabilities of creation, reproduction, and choice. My multidisciplinary practice explores durational journeys utilizing my body as the main tool to gain an understanding of the self, the physical, the affective, and the cognitive components, as I just mentioned. My practice creates opportunities to access heightened awareness through ritualistic explorations, mantras, repetitive movement, long meditations, and all these in pursuit of creating new meaning. In Sensoscope, the image you're seeing right now, I walked for 12 hours in a very meditative tempo, very slow, moving with the sun on 14th Street from Avenue C to 11th Avenue. I slowed down my movement and quieted down any reactionary output to be able to observe my own behavior and the behavior of all of those people around me. I noticed the passerbys did the same. I heard the reactions, their questions, their thoughts. In silence, each walker became an active participant, reflecting. I still remember a nice woman realizing that there was broken glass on the street. And then she started brooming the pavement for my bare foot. This work is my latest piece. I started doing these meditative invitations every day through the month of February. I'm gonna put these, another member of the collective created the music. So it started very, very simple. And then we created these complex visuals made with nature with my visuals, with other past performances and future ones. So this is just a small sample, but just in the interest of time, I'll keep going. My work is essentially multidisciplinary. It is tech-related, feminist, and rooted in biobehavioral research, bringing forth neuroscience, philosophy, quantum entanglement theories in coexistence with identity. I create performance rituals that meditate on ways to heal, to create community, and understand the politics of immigration and gender. I aim to catalyze actions of personal growth and social justice. As an immigrant living in New York City, I address the complexity of being Mexican in the US by understanding the politics of our borders, our jobs, and our realities today. With a community of Latinx artists, we made a socially engaged performance, whereas a community, we created a space to support each other and travel our paths, knowing that we are there for each other, being sources of light, shining bright in the darkest moments. In this piece you are seeing in the screen right now, called Cuerpos de Luz, another 12-hour durational performance that happened in Manhattan that lasted from sunset until sunrise. A Latinx group of individuals traveled from a point A to a point B in a caravan in search of a home. To this day, I still reflect on those that attacked us that night by yelling at us, "You weirdos, go back home." The effects of fear and not understanding seen as a threat. The idea that different is not the enemy, but diversity as a source of richness. Every project, be it through photography, video, multimedia, sculpture, costume, participatory, durational, socially engaged performances, I attempt to create experiential understanding, to be most effective in creating self-awareness and well-being. And in that, consciousness and behavioral change. My practice is about enlightenment, as I said before. To keep this presentation participatory, let us revisit the question, what is enlightenment? Take a deep breath in. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it in. Notice your thoughts. Notice your feelings. Exhale it out through the mouth. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold empty. Again, notice your thoughts. Inhale deep. Without any judgment, I want to invite you in this to send one word in the or sentence in the chat of what is enlightenment to you. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the presentation. I'm gonna stop it now. So if you can send one word of what is enlightenment to you, Barry might be able to read these.
Yes, I see some of the words that are coming up: a journey, peace, generosity, freedom, beginning, energy, power, clarity, sharing, connection, understanding,
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That is what my practice aims to do. Some kind of transformation, acceptance. Thank you.
Very nice. That was a beautiful presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Very nice. Claps and snaps.
Thank you for watching.
Very nice. Any questions? I do want to say we're off to sort of a rich start. You know, I think you spelled it out so simply and nicely. My art is about enlightenment. And I've often thought, like, you know, what is art? We all think like that as artists, and you summarized it nicely, and you know, you're making it uplifting, and then very, very interesting. And as well, energy. Energy is sort of, if you had to say there's one thing, you might just say there's energy. And so we've heard both the first two speakers touch on this in their art. Interesting to see it, you know, sort of physics and theoretical physics come into play in arts dialogue, but they really do at times. All the same search, maybe two different angles. Veronica, I'll hand it to you. Again, everybody, this is Artist Talk on Art. We're a 501c3. Our website is listed. If you want to be on our mailing list or anything, give a reach out to me. And we're continuing with the new Latinx Art Collective. Verónica Peña, a member of the group, also sort of organized this talk and is our performance curator. So Verónica, who's got the mighty thumb to go next?
Hi, Barry, before they go, the next presenter, I would like to know if the collective has a website or a page on Instagram, if they can put it on the chat. Thank you.
We have an Instagram page. We are working on the website at this moment, and I don't know if somebody of the collective can type it there. That would be great because my computer is a mess today. I wanted to say, Bibi and Arantxa, thank you, because both of you, you know, you are talking about a way of taking life that tries to bring you into the positive, and I think that's a choice, and sometimes it's very difficult. I think it's, you know, I hope that everybody can do the same. And I'm going to welcome Jessica Aletheraki. She's a visual artist and a painter, and I'm going to let her talk. Jessica, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy I'm invited and part of this great group of artists. So I'm gonna share my screen and show you my paintings. So I'm an oil painter. I'm originally from Mexico City, and I've been living in New York since 1998. I'm a mom of 2 kids, 2 teenagers and a dog. And since the pandemic, I've been working from home with them around, so they are a source of my inspiration. My work is portraits of Latinx immigrants and families. I want to give a voice to the domestic environment of families. I want to bring Latinx portraits into contemporary art. And my work is basically with color. My portraits are stories in color. Hold on, because I got stuck in this image. So I like to have a collage aesthetics. I use photographic reference for my paintings, but I'm not painting anybody specifically. Everything I recreated, and I'm talking about family dynamics between pets and kids, everything based on color. I talk about the interaction between them, and I want to be specific within food, because food is also very important in our culture. And my way about talking about Latinx is a celebration of the culture. So I want to use bright colors. And in this series body of work, I'm using decorative pattern from inspired in arts craft and in tablecloths. So I'm bringing this colorful flower pattern, and I like the subject of tables because it leads itself to a very organic composition, but it also talks about family united as a broader political statement. So like for me, being a parent is really important, and with the pandemic, we've been home a lot. So I wanted to focus last year, everything I did was interior scenes. And let me show you more. My backgrounds are flat because it's important for me to have a mix between reality and not a literal reality. So the flat background in color makes it arbitrary and not specific. So it's definitely a home environment, but there is a sense where the anatomy is broken and the perspective is broken, and also the flat spaces. So it makes it more different and charged. And I want to talk about the tension of the family living and the joy of the family living at the same time. And the way I construct the portrait is with very loose edges and gesture. So I leave it very sketchy and broad, and I want to bring that raw sense to my work. So it's like a balance between the more realistic and the more abstracted figure. I went to the New York Academy of Arts, so I started painting from the live figure, and I have a lot of anatomical training, but in my self-directed work, I wanted to use color to construct the spaces and the figures. So I will always give emotion over objective reality. And yeah, so I'm gonna continue showing you. I talk a lot about parenting, and I feel like every kid I paint is based on my own kids. I don't use them, but they are like my inspiration and my perspective as a parent. And these tablecloths are an inspiration because I love the arts craft, the Mexican arts craft. I also started working in advertising years ago, and I target the US Hispanic market. So my job was to make the advertising look Mexican. So I always got really into arts craft, and I wanted to be able to translate that festive, colorful vibe to my work and make it in a celebratory fashion.
I just want to read some of the comments as you're sharing. Leopola says, wonderful, intimate, sensitive, and humanist paintings. Elisa Pritzker says, Jessica, your paintings are warm, a delight. Love your doggies and your cats. Mitch Pilnick, if I didn't know they were oil on canvas, I would think they were a multimedia collage. Bravo. Mitch is one of the board members at the ATOA, as is Fran Bieler, and also Roberta Bernardi, who's on this talk as well. Regina Silva says, really original and vibrant work. Congratulations. And Fran Bieler, I love the use of the flattened perspective of the cloth and the heightened 3D effect of the figure and the space. Beautifully done. You know, and I'll add that when I see them all on the grid all at once, you know, they hit me on a design level. But when you blew the one up and I got to see the sort of luscious painting you do, you know, I think I appreciated it even more. You have a great sense of color pop. And yes, you get that flattened collage, you know, almost push-pull is flattened at times in a very strong way. And you do, I mean, I want to say like a Matisse flattening of the table, but I hate to give him credit for everything. But he certainly deserves a lot. yeah, you're sort of working with patterning. And then at the same time, it's intimate portraiture. And we've heard the story before how COVID has influenced artists. They have gone internal. They've been at home and they see what's around the home. So it eliminates, you know, that trek out to Utah to paint the mountains. That's not happening. So, you know, on the other end, a lot of artists have gone to self-portraiture, to what they see around them, and maybe they've slowed down. Let's open it up to some questions, and do feel free to keep sharing images as you like.
Thank you so much for all those comments. I really appreciate. Well, I have other stuff that I did previously because I started this series of work on the actual tablecloth. So these are not paintings, traditional paintings. There are more objects of art in which I work in the actual tablecloth. But after that, I decided I wanted to paint the entire thing. So these are before the other ones. These are on the actual tablecloth. So all the pattern is from the plastic. So I painted on top with oil. But eventually the plastic became hard object to work with. So I transferred it to the canvas. But just to share more from the same subject. So this work I did previously, and it led me to the new work that I show you. Thank you so much. I don't know if somebody has another question.
Jessica, it seems that the texture of your recent work on the canvas, it seems that it's cleaner, right? Like, I don't know, maybe it's because of the photographs, I'm not sure, but it seems that the plastic covers, tablecloths, made that game, you know, like it kind of diminishes the brightness of your colors.
Yeah, thank you. Because before I left the actual tablecloth, so I was creating an object of art. So it was wrinkled and uneven, but that was like the idea to paint on the actual tablecloth. And the later work is everything hand painted. So everything has oil paint. So it looks like a more traditional painting. But that inspired me to the new series of work.
Jessica, I have a question.
Sure.
Because I know you a little more, not a lot. I met you last year. Do you find yourself painting more of the traditional image of the Mexican immigrant as opposed, say, the Jewish Mexican? What's your view on that?
Yeah, well, I've been living in New York for many years, and I wanted to paint people that look immediately recognized as Latinx. And I need like the information of a photograph. So I do use photographic references, and I usually take them on the subway. So when I listen to somebody speaking Spanish, like there's like an immediate connection to those people. And for some reason, it's like a nostalgic feeling that I really want to paint them. So I take candid photographs and I do my work from those photographs. So I'm not trying to paint a specific person. I try to make my own, but I do need the information of a photograph. So I usually take it from New Yorkers that speak Spanish randomly on the subway, because I do want to, I'm not a political person and my work is not directly political, but I do care for bringing portraits of Latinx people into contemporary art, and I want to be sure that they are recognized as Latinx. So, I mean, I'm Mexican and I probably don't look Mexican, so it's very broad and hard to make that statement, but I usually try to use people that are recognized as Latinx.
I want to read some of the comments that have been written. Robin Halpern, love the consistency of the flowered tablecloths throughout this series, and the size of these work lend both a powerful and dramatic aesthetic. Also, your subject matter is a very important one. Lauren Tweetman says really great stuff. Fran Poller, how has culture shock, moving from one culture to another, impacted your pictorial content?
I think it definitely did, because there's a nostalgic feel about Mexico and Latinos and the color and the whole aesthetic and the whole visual Mexican language in a way. And I think if I was living in Mexico, I wouldn't have that nostalgic feeling that made me wanted to paint that so badly, you know. It's a feeling of an immigrant that you have like some sort of nostalgic thing that you want to paint where you grew up on. Like you really want to have that feeling of color, like translate the Latinx thing into painting. And it was my way of doing that. And if I was living in Mexico, I don't think I was drawn to that kind of visual aesthetic.
Very nice. I do want to read a few more. Eloisa Pomfret, love your work, very creative. Audrey Anatasi, lovely work, nice pull, tension between the three-dimensional observation and the flat patterns. Wendy Friedberg. Wendy asked, when will this talk be online? All the talks get captured either the Tuesday or the Wednesday after, and they go on the YouTube page, the YouTube channel. You can see it on our website. It is Artist Talk on our full name, but if you go to our website, there is a link, and there'll be a description at the beginning of all the talks. So you will be able to see this probably tomorrow or the day after. Jessica, use of the color yellow is brilliant, especially in contrast with the patterns on the tablecloths with the color pink. Yeah, no, thank you, everybody. Anybody, one last question, and then we'll move on. We do have a lot of presenters tonight. We did go last week to 8:22. We set the record, an hour and a half talk, done in only 2 hours and 22 minutes. So,
I have a quick question. What is Creative Capital Taller, New York City? What is that? Creative Capital Taller, New York City.
Does somebody from the group wants to respond to that?
Creative Capital, the organization, provided this professional series in Spanish for Latinx artists. So we joined that, and that's how we met as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Okay.
They give, I'm going to contribute a little bit to what Jessica said. It's a prestigious organization in New York City that has been supporting the works of artists for years. They give a grant. It's called the Creative Capital Award. And in these sessions where we all met, the NYC Taller, they advise you on how to navigate the ecosystem of the arts in the city. And, you know, for some of us, we live here in the US, but some of us do not. So it's always good to figure out how to grow or how to share your artwork in the city. And that's what they do. And I don't know if I forgot something about them, if somebody else wants to say something. And if not, I'm going to welcome Fernando Biera. He's a writer, director, and performer, and a wonderful member of the group. Fernando, go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. Let me do some screen sharing. Hopefully it works for me, so bear with me. All right. Here we go. Okay, so I am a writer. So what we're looking at here is one of the first things that I ever wrote. It's a stage monologue. And the reason I always bring this up because it was the first thing that really helped me start my career in New York City. It's a play about a woman's desire to go on with her life at the age of 50. And that speaks about the kind of writing that I like to do, which it's usually about those who have somehow been in a situation where it hasn't been easy to do what they want. So we're talking about women in Latin America and also the queer population. Now I write in Spanish and in English, so I have other stories that take place in the United States. This story is meant really for Latin America. Goodbye, Little George is the current play that I'm really promoting. It has not been produced, although it has had different readings. And the story of it, it's the life of a young boy who eventually will make a decision regarding his gender. And the reason I say he is because when I write the play, it's really from the perspective of a he. And that was quite intentional because I noticed that during the process that I've been being a writer, a lot of changes have happened in the community, in the society, where, you know, certain people say, well, if someone identifies as a female and you shouldn't be say he or she. So it could be a little controversial theme, but as an artist, I also hold my ground in which I from my own perspective and being a non-binary person myself, it depends on the situation. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of the work that I do deals with gender, representation, self-image, independence, and having the freedom to communicate in the way that you want. I've noticed that a lot of times within the new movements that we're having, the social movements, people can be a little apprehensive about saying, oh, I belong to a certain group, I do not. They're really cautious. Someone asked me, you know, one time if I was, if I consider myself part of the transgender community. And what I said at the time was, all I know is that I'm really non-conforming. And so they were like, well, how can you be, you know, part of the transgender when you present yourself as a man? And then I say, but that all depends, you know, what does being a man mean to anybody? In my case, clothing or the sound of your voice or facial hair doesn't really mean much. It's really, each person is different. So that's one of the themes in my work, talking about independence to identify yourself however you want, however you feel, without caring or falling into the pressure of the social movements that are happening at the moment. This is a Spanish version of The Maids, Jean Genet's The Maid. I did it in Spanish. I absolutely loved doing it. I directed it and I also acted in it. And yeah, it was a great experience. This play is called Anormales in Spanish. It's new as well. In this one, I tackle homophobia in the 1990s in my country. I don't think I mentioned it. I'm Ecuadorian. I was born there. I was raised there. And even though at the time the play takes place, I wasn't an adult. I was a child. I saw a lot of the injustices that were happening at the time. So I always wanted to write something about it. So that is another play that I'm currently developing. Now, I'm going to show you, I don't think we have the time for all of it, but at least part of a little mini documentary that I did on gender identity. It's called Unlabeled.
For years, I've wondered if there's more than one person living inside of me.
Can you hear it, first of all? Yes? Go back again, sorry.
For years, I've wondered if there's more than one person living inside of me. Perhaps more than two.
They are such distinct personalities.
It's like people have no idea. They even sound, feel, and think differently. If you see this person walking by, would you think that you're looking at a cisgender or transgender person? That person, it's me. And I'll tell you, I'm neither one, because I'm both. My mother doesn't know about my true gender identity. As an artist, people know me as Fernando Biera. It's also my name on all my social media accounts. But there is another side of me that most people haven't met. A most distinct personality that is as alive and present as my public persona. The reality is that from a very young age, I wrestled with gender identity questions. And by the time I was 8, I had developed a secret female identity. Throughout the years, I called myself different names until 2016, when I finally settled on a permanent name, Jane. And she would help me uncover an entire new world. Are you attracted to trans women only?
I'm attracted to beauty in general. So you're beautiful. People, sexual orientation or whatever it is, decide whether or not I like it. So, first of all, see, and then the conversation and the way they are and how they are, what they're about. The decision on if I'm gonna, mess around with the person or not, or whatever it is.
Are you straight or bisexual?
Well, I consider myself straight. I'm not attracted to men at all. And I feel like transgenders, for the most part, you feel like women, you think like women, talk like women, and you live like a woman. To me, you are a woman. And that's pretty much how I feel about that.
I wanted to see what it was like for Jane and Fernando to have a conversation.
Okay, so you're gonna have to see the whole thing if you want to see it, because it will go a little longer. But basically, the whole idea of this little documentary was really talk about freely about how I feel. I really own my own life and my own perspective, no matter what the movement says. And that's why it's called unlabeled. I don't really care to label it anything. I could have come in, you know, looking more on the femme side, whatever femme means, but I'm totally comfortable with who I am. So a lot of the things that I write about somehow are influenced by my own life. You know, whether it's a play, a screenplay, and even as an actor, I am also a performer, and I draw from both part of me to create characters. So if anybody has any questions, you know, that was just a little part of the things that I do, really. Thank you.
Very nice.
Well, I would just say, Fernando, I would just say thank you for sharing. And I believe deeply that labeling is limiting. So it seems to me you get to experience life much more fully by not labeling and being open to your, you know, feminine, masculine, whatever. It makes you more human than most. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I also agree with Wendy about labeling. I think it limits the experience that you have, because you don't really experience the thing before you or person before you. You experience what somebody else said it is, and therefore you have no experience of your own of it. Now, of course, if you're labeling cans of soup and you want to know what's in the soup, then you need a label. Because my friend told me he once tore all the labels off the cans in his mother's cupboard, and she didn't know what to do about that. So sometimes you need a label, maybe, but I think that labeling is very limited. And I like how you also, the images that you did, like on the roof, that angle, and where it starts out also, where the person is set in the outside. It's combines the human and the other. I don't know if you're thinking that, but I've been thinking about that myself lately a lot. And so thank you, that was very nice. I wanted to see the rest of the film. Where can you see the rest of that?
Well, that was purposely. You follow me and then you'll see, because I'm always doing events, and then and then you'll see when I'm gonna have the next showing. By the way, actually, maybe I can mention it. We as a group are gonna have an event next, is it next month? Maybe one of you can help. I'm planning on showing the entire clip there. So if you wanna see it.
April 18, I think, yeah.
Fernando.
April 15? Is that
April
18?
18?
So it's starting on April 18th, and we'll be posting it on our Instagram page, so you'll get to see more details. And if you like the video, I encourage you to please come and support, and you'll get to see the whole thing. But thank you.
Yes, I want to say, Fernando, as a Latin person myself, I know how brave you are.
Thank you.
I know the Latin community, so bravo and brava.
Yeah, brave.
Brave, exactly.
I just want to read a few nice comments. Wendy Friedman said, very beautiful and brave. Fran Beeler, love the video presentation, well done. Elaine Forrest says, Fernando, that was beautifully conceived and rendered. Thank you. And Robin Halpern, you seem like an amazing, versatile individual, and I'm glad to see you express yourself in such creative ways. I'm sure that your art has a major impact on others. And yes, I think in one general way, as artists, we're always exploring the self, whether it's you in a canvas and what you choose to do, or you in clay that's literally muddied on your hands, but it's you at the forefront, even if you choose your intellectual side and do that. And so I think you've really hit it, Fernando, at the most basic level, what art is about in ways. Very nice presentation, thank you. Let's move on, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Fernando. Thank you.
Everyone. Thank you.
And now I'm going to introduce to Jorge Verrillos, and he's focused on theater, writing, and collective making. Jorge?
All right, let me share the screen 1 second. Oh wait. Oh, so oops, I'm gonna excuse myself 1 quick second because I just lost the presentation.
No problem. Take your time. I'll just remind everybody this is ATOA, Artists Talk on Art. We're a 501c3. Everything we do is free. You can contribute if you like. Take a look on our website. And I do want to thank, I see many artists here who have contributed. Thank you. It helps us go along. I do want to welcome Norma Greenwood, one of our board members who's popped in, and Francine Kornfeld, a longtime board member and someone involved. Last week's talk was on artists from Tucson, Arizona. You can see that on the YouTube channel. It was quite an interesting talk, quite a diversified group of talented artists. Jorge, feeling good, ready to go? He's ready to go.
All right, thank you so much. Let me share my screen real quick. Right. I dream, eyes closed, meditate, let my mind flow. Dream. What exactly do I dream about? Directing, acting, writing, creating something with other people.
Yeah.
It becomes a little complicated. Well, first of all, I am an actor. My name is Jorge Berrios, but I'm a theater person. I like to call myself a theater person, a writer, and a collective creator, because even though I started as an actor in the world of theater, I've done everything that you do in theater. I've done props, directing, but I mainly identify myself as a director and actor because that is what I mainly do. And since the years that I've been here, I've been...
Jorge, yes. Sorry to interrupt, but were you supposed to be sharing your screen? Because we're not seeing anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm about to share something real quick. It's part of it. So...
okay, sorry.
I thought I was still sharing my screen because I wanted to speak to the camera for a quick second. I didn't want to be like small on the corner. I'll come back to the camera soon. So what I'm building up to is that my career has started before I was in New York City, and I've done a lot of stuff. And I want to share some of the works that I've done recently and what have I done in those works. And I'm going to start with first sharing about the last play I did before the pandemic happened. And also the one that I did most recently is In the Eye of the Needle. We did that play in English the first time. Then I did the presentation in Spanish most recently, where we had like a Facebook/internet. Then we went to this website that is called On the Stage, I think it is, where you can see the play like in real time. They give you a countdown, and then at a certain time you have to connect to see the show. Well, why am I bringing this in? Because to create this show, you always dream about doing something, you have something in your mind, but you also, life is kind of like an improv game, you know? You propose yourself, you're gonna do something, but sometimes you end up doing something totally different. These are the pictures of the work that we did to create that show. I was taking them. And even though I participated in the workshop we did to develop the play, and I was the co-creator of the show, at that moment, my mindset was that I'm going to be an assistant director. However, I finished performing. And these are the things that you have to do when you are a person, first of all, but also in theater. The way I conceive theater is like a place where everything comes together, and then we take all of our talents and we use them to give them to the audience in the show. And this line that you see in here, death lies far. Oops, sorry. Death lies far. I can feel that it's real. yet I feel powerless. It's actually a line that I wrote because as part of the process in the creation of the show, we started like giving the director and the writer pieces of poems or things that we created based on our explorations, which were integrated into the play. And this specific line was part of one. So part of it, so then part of it was, so that was how it happened. It started like with the process of workshops. We developed a play together, and then we finished showing the play in English and then in Spanish. In addition to that, I also worked with a group called El Puente in El Cadre, and we were planning this, working in this thing called, a campaign called Our Air, or Nuestro Aire. As part of it, our group wanted to create something where we could bring the artists together. We have like 10, 12 artists that are, is mainly the only adult artist department of this community group. And we wanted to create something together. And I came with the idea of writing down the scripts. But what did I do to be able to integrate the other artists? First, I wrote down the idea of the scripts. Then I wrote a scene and I left scenes unwritten, and I left spaces for songs and I left spaces for images. And all of a sudden, all of the people started coming together, and we created a piece that we presented on the community of Williamsburg, which is more a direct message about the quality of the air and the things that some powerful people are doing to affect what is happening in our communities in Williamsburg and Bushwick. That led me eventually to work on with another group that I'm working right now, in which now I am creating collectively with children, and we're doing like a script writing workshop where we're developing a script with a group of students from 4th and 5th grade. And it might seem like a hard task because you're taking children and asking them for the ideas and trying to create something with it, also feeding them information about environmental justice to then come up with a script. That process finished on Friday, and right after this, I'm going to be working on putting together this script for a presentation that we'll be doing in about a month. And actually, one of the artists here is going to be participating as part of that creation. I'm looking forward to her collaborating with us. And this is the important thing about our group, the New Latinx Art Collective. I feel like we get together to help each other, but also we are a source of inspiration of the other one. Just like the painting you saw at the beginning, and like the painting you can see here. This painting right here is based on a poem that I wrote. And it speaks about who we are as people, we artists, the people that share the space, the people that are creating or that are doing something to bring about an idea. It's a beautiful work that we do, creating art, creating anything, a piece of theater, a poem, a play, a painting, whatever we do, we create. And putting this together and being able to not only get inspired, but being inspired by other people, I think is a beautiful work. And that process of sharing is really what interests me. And it brings me to my project that I'm working in right now, which is a project in which I want to have the poetry as the starting point of creation, where I am sharing work with video makers or with visual artists. Well, if I give my poem to a visual artist, they can come up with a piece like that. Or if I see a piece like the one that you saw at the beginning, I can come up with a poem. And then we get together and create something. Because that's what we are when we are artists. We are people that are of the corners, right? Acute, obtuse angles, always changing. Witnesses of white fairies, observers of black angels, beings of change, of resistance, of transformation. Right, I'm gonna stop sharing. So basically that's a little bit of what I do. Right now, I'm trying to collaborate with other artists to create visual versions or a visual idea of the poem and also to create like other ideas. Like I recorded a video where a person was listening to, a dancer was listening to my poem, and he would start dancing based on that. But then I'm trying to get that recording, edit it, and send it to a musician that will not listen to the poem, and then they'll create music out of the dance that they saw that was created out of the poem he heard. And that type of exchange, I think for me is really important, because especially in these times where we're separated. I'm at my home in a room where I grew up back in Puerto Rico, and my family's downstairs, and we're all like in different places. We cannot have this type of experience together. Finding a way to connect in these times where we're so separated, for me, is really important. And that is like the next thing that I really want to do. That's my dream work. Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge. Thank you.
Very nice. Some very beautiful words, you know, at the end, that we're beings of change, of transformation. And I think that ties into an earlier artist that spoke about art being enlightenment. Very nice thread throughout these group of artists. Again, all artists are different, but there is a common thread and concern amongst this group, and much more. Once more, this is a group that's been organized by Verónica Peña. She's our performance curator, and she's brought this new Latinx Art Collective together today, and as well next Monday. We do have one more artist who's going to share with us. So again, thank you everybody for coming. Artist Talk on Art, a 501c3. Every Monday we're here. Go to our website. You can see what's coming. You can see past talks on our YouTube. And any questions you have, you can reach out to me, Barry Kostrinsky. Veronica, go ahead, introduce our last one. And thank you, Jorge, and everybody who spoke so far. Very nice presentations, a nice diversity.
Thank you. So our next artist is Sabrina Merayo Nuñez, and she's an installation. She does installation and sculpture. And Sabrina, I have a car.
Yeah.
Sabrina, yeah.
Okay. Well, I will share some images with you so I can. Uh-oh. Okay. Is this okay? Can you see the images?
Not yet. Can't see the images.
No?
No. You want to try again?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a website you want to open up? Or is it a...
Yeah, I can do that with my website, but I had a presentation to share with you and I don't know what happened. Let me see if I can share at least the website. Can you see this now?
No.
What happens when you push that green button that says share content?
It says open preference system. So I open it, but I cannot share it. I don't know why.
It says open preferences?
I did this before.
So Sabrina, are you going to the button of your screen where it says share screen?
Yeah.
And when you click share screen, is that what it says?
Yes.
Huh. Do you have is that a PowerPoint? What you want to share?
It's enough.
Yeah. Do you have it open already?
Yes, it's open. And I used to do this before. I don't know what happened now. Yeah. Sorry about this.
That's okay. It's actually been, I think, a whole week and we haven't had a technical difficulty. Yeah. So thank you for breaking an unexpected trend we had going. We usually have 2 or 3 major glitches, including maybe spirits from the past, as we had at Elisa's talk once.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Sabrina, if you want, I can try to share your website and you can direct me if you want.
Yes.
Yeah?
Please.
If mine works, okay?
Okay, let's start with that. Just go into my website and the section is installations.
I'm going there. Okay. Give me only 1 sec.
And feel free to look in the chats. You have links to Jorge's sites and other information. And if you want to put any comments or questions in, just go ahead as well.
Okay.
Okay, well, I just want to share some images to talk about my work. And my work is a kind of journey from the craft work to the bio art, which is the thing that I'm doing right now. So the thing I wanted to share with you is the way in which I started to study the ways in which we know the matter and how we modify the matter, just knowing very well the behavior of wood, for example, which was my main material. That was you can go to the bottom of the of that images, so we can start from the.
So you can see this?
Excellent.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes,
okay.
Right?
Yes.
Where do you want me to go, Sabrina?
Thank you. So down, abajo de todas las primeras.
Do you want me to translate?
These are the last. Well, this one, the
catalogados. No.
Let's go the joints. But I started to study los encastres, these kind of things, and I study all the behavior of the wood and the way in which I could like work with it with tools, with physical tools. And then I started to study the history of furniture, and then I started to study the way in which furniture was built. And I found that all this knowledge that as humans we can get about the matter, you can start to disassemble. So I started to disassemble objects, and then I started to disassemble all kind of matter that is used to conserve and to preserve all these things that we build to be used, like furniture, for example. But at the end, we can go now to the conformations. Un poquito más arriba.
Esta, ¿no? Sí.
Esa, conformaciones. That was an exhibition in which I was working actually about the different materials that we use to preserve wood. So I started to use, in this one you can see, I started to use the rocks that we use to preserve the wood, and I started to use all the materials that are organics, and we are using it in different ways to preserve objects. So at that point, the thing that I was interested in, it was to pay attention, what are the things that we have to know about the nature and how we can modify the nature. And at the very beginning, it was about the craft. It was about a physical way. But at the end of one of my residencies, I realized that we are going inside of the matter, inside of the wood. And I started to do bioart because I started to work with the DNA of trees. I wanted to show you a video. Just go back again, Vero, please. Manta. It is in one way, the thing it was that I realized that wood, it was a living thing, you know, because when you use it to do stuff, you don't realize that it's something that is alive, and then you had to know the behavior that is thing that is alive, so you can modify it. And we do that to do craft, but scientists do that to modify inside all that living things, including us. So in this residency, I have a video just at the bottom. This one. I realized that this thing that came as a tree became a piece of wood. And that's a way in which we just modified the nature to become something cultural, you know what I mean? So I started to think in a very different way about the nature. And that's why I started to do bioart, because I started to think how the technologies modify our relationship with nature. So it has a very, very strong sound that you cannot hear now. I don't know why, but it's a machine. It's a machine going through nature to transform it. So this was a very important moment for me. And then we can go, Vero, to the last images. I came here to do a bioart residency, and I started to go through bioart labs. So I started to work with scientists that showed me different ways in which they approach to the nature. This is one sample, but if we go back, I would like to show you just to finish my latest work. So I started to work with a kind of installations. This one, the last one, Humans as a Trees, is a DNA of Trees project. I was doing a residency of 2 months in Buffalo. So I was at the university doing DNA of tree extraction. And then I work with the sequences, and I compare that sequences with my own DNA. So the thing that I'm doing now is try to make a research about what are the similarities and what are the differences. And you know what? The crazy thing about this is that depends on the way you read this info, you can find sometimes more similarities between me and the tree than the tree between another tree, you know? So that was a crazy thing. And that's another thing that I'm really interested in, and is the fragility of the info that science can give us. So, well, that's my current work, right? I'm trying to get through that thing that science can do with nature, and how the relation between science and nature can change our world, right? And well, we saw it with this pandemic times, right? So it's a kind of, when I started to study this, the pandemic, it wasn't not even, you couldn't even imagine that this could happen. But going through all the science process, you can understand a lot of things that are happening now. This was my studio. I work in this place, which was the lab in Cole Center for 2 months. So I put my studio inside of the lab. That was crazy. Well, that's my current work. That was the thing that I wanted to share with you. Thank you, Vero. You can go out of that.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you.
I had some images and a text to read about that images. And it wasn't so
that's okay. I think we got a great view of your work from your website. I appreciate that. You mentioned that was the Cola residency you were at?
The place in which I did the residence, it was called Coles. It's a center for bioart work.
Oh, okay.
And it's directed by Paul Banus, which is a very well-known bioartist. He is the manager of the place. He directed the place. So they select the project to develop it for 2 months. So I was working with the manager of the lab for 2 months. trying to get the best way to do the DNA extraction from trees. Because when you extract the human DNA, it's more simple, but to go through the DNA of trees is a little bit more difficult. I started to try to do it from the wood, but it wasn't possible. So I had to start to work with the leaves, and that's why I'm saying that you realize that it's a thing that is alive, right? And we are like, everybody has wood around, right? But how many times a day we realize that it's a living thing that we have around, So
I've recently heard the term tree bathing, and it's a Japanese concept that when you go for a walk in the woods, you're tree or forest bathing. You're being absorbed by the smells, the sounds, and the visual, and it's actually connecting with your body, much like people would say you take off your shoes to connect with the ground. But they have shown there's a lot more connection between plants and humans that just happen somehow, whether it's through roots or somehow through us. Interesting presentation. Thank you very much, Sabrina. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina.
We'll take a few questions. I do see some comments. Wendy Friedman, such fantastically imaginative and interesting work. I wonder what you will do next, Sabrina. Fernando Biera, impressive work, Sabrina. And Mitch Pilnick, one of the board members at the ATOA, says, what came first, Sabrina? Your love of art or science? Good question, Mitch.
Well, I don't have a science background. That was, for me, and that was the nice thing to get into a lab, because all the things that I was experiencing, it was, for me, it was a very different way to get it, because I didn't have that background in science. And I'm not sure that I love science. I think, yeah, I think it's something that makes me curious, I'm curious about it, about the process, about the protocols, about all that kind of ways to know things that scientists use. But I don't think it's love. I'm not sure. So yeah, I have an art background, not a science background.
Excuse me, but did you say that the DNA of trees is in the leaves?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that it's in the leaves. It's the way in which, the best way in which you can get the sample, because it's a nice process, and I'm working in a video that I think it'll be ready soon, in which you go from the leaves through the sample. When you take a sample from a human, you can take it with saliva, for example, and it is very easy. I mean, not because it's simple, but because it's clear the way in which you have to do the protocol to get the sample from a human. But from a tree is different, because you need a part of the tree that is like working more, the part of the tree that can gives you the best kind of information of that DNA. And the leaves, all the stuff that we tried, it was the best result. But you had to keep it. I was working with nitrogen, so I can keep the leaves fresh, and I can use it like in the same time, so we don't lost any info. So it's not that it's in the leaves, it's that the leaves are the best way we found to get that samples. And it's a kind of interesting, the way in which you are like cleaning, like you are taking out stuff in different layers up to the point you get actually the sample. And the crazy thing is you're going from the matter, I mean the leaf, the physical leaf, to a code, because at the final of the process, the thing that you have from the lab is the sequence. So you have a very conceptual image of this leaf, you know, of that tree.
You have just 4 letters. You reduce it down to just the 4 letters for the amino acids.
And that's crazy, right? Because it's a kind of, you have all the information that makes this thing possible. And and we can discuss this because it's not that, I mean, the DNA is not something that is just in one way and cannot be like modified. It's actually modified by the environment. But it's a lot of information that makes things possible, make life possible. Actually, the scientists call the DNA the key of life.
The interesting thing is that we eat leaves, and I wonder what happens with the DNA inside of us and, you know, the combination of that.
Well, the thing is, it's a very complex subject, you know. But about the la clonación, how do you say clonación in English?
Clonation.
I don't know, but it sounds so much better in Spanish.
I want to say about what happened with DNA, right? If you have the same DNA and you're supposed to have the same the environment of one of the
I'm going to mute one second. We have a reverberation. I'm going to take this as an opportunity to sort of wrap it up and say thank you. I'll unmute you if you want to say anything else, of course, Sabrina. But thank everybody. I want to thank everybody here for coming, participating, asking a question, being a part of the ATOA, and of course, to all the artists that spoke today. We had 7 artists. Veronica spoke a little bit. Thank you very much. All the artists that spoke. And of course, Veronica for organizing this. Next week on Monday, this will be part 2 of this new Latinx Art Collective with about 6 presenters. Take a look at ATOA's website to see what else is coming. If you'd like to present a talk, reach out to me. We'll schedule the date. We're pretty much booked up until June, but that doesn't mean we won't be scheduling July and August. So if you have a theme, you'd like to put something together, or you're just an artist and you want to share your work, let me know and we'll schedule something. Again, I'm Barry Kostrinsky. This was a lot of fun. Veronica, great job. All the artists, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.